Larry, very good to see you. This video is for anyone who is in the retirement red zone. We're going to talk through 5 money moves that you should consider making now. So, the retirement red zone is basically the 3 to 7 years before you retire. It's a critical time when investment decisions and market fluctuations can have a significant impact on your financial security. So, the first money move is to define your budget and expenses. And Larry, only 40% of people have ever calculated what they'll need to live on in retirement.
Yeah, Aaron, 18 plus years now, I've been in this business and love it. And that's probably the number one thing that I have to do with clients is to have them to define what their spending needs to be in
Yeah.
retirement. Again, that red zone, they're close to it. We can't fumble now. So it's creating a budget that's sustainable for them, include inflation with that as well. As you say,
Mhm.
only 40% have it done. And that's an eye opener that many people think I don't need but X. And when they do their budget, like, oh, it's Y. It's a little bit
I
more.
know, right? You
Yeah.
really need to know what those expenses are. All right, next, define your sources of guaranteed income.
Absolutely. Most people understand their Social Security, and those small cost of living adjustments are going to get on that. But the rest of it, they have to look at that nest egg, that IRA, 401k, whatever it might be. Are they going to use annuities? Are they going to use market only? And we've seen with some of the volatility in the market here recently, certainly, that using the market by itself may be an issue, right? So whether cash value life insurance, annuities, just a combination of what products are going to need to guarantee that income moving forward.
Right. And I think you kind of just touched on it. But when you complete step one and step two, you know your expenses, you know what's coming in, and whatever the discrepancy is between those two, that's known as your income gap, your retirement gap. So then you need to formulate an income plan. How do you go about doing that?
Again, great question. Is it truly is looking at those assets, looking at those guarantees. A few people even have a pension. That's not as common anymore, but looking at that and then figuring out what that drawdown percentage will be on those assets.
Mm-hmm.
So just creating that and knowing this is how much we have to live on and adjusting that accordingly. You also have, the go, slow go, and no go years. So, for us, we try to have our clients spend a little bit more that first 10 years than they will the last 10 years per se. But it's
Right.
important, again, use all those resources to create what that income guarantees need to be.
Mm-hmm. And then next, one of those sources of guaranteed income is Social Security. And again, claiming strategies. This is something that you specialize in, Larry, and people need to keep in mind because, of course, the earlier you claim, the less you get. And you don't want to be leaving money on the table here.
This one item alone, as I share with so many people, if you come in with $1 million in your IRA 401k and you've worked hard to get there, many people don't realize they have over $1 million in their Social Security bucket. It's
Hmm.
very important in both to be pulling the right amount from the right space at the right time. So absolutely, I've seen $200,000 or $300,000 worth of differences just by evaluating that Social Security and taking it longer. Key point here, Aaron, many advisors, and I understand why they call them asset huggers, as I prefer to keep the money and you take that Social Security early. Many times it's the right thing for me to say, no, spend some of the money you've allowed me to manage for you and delay that Social Security. Very important for your guarantees.
Hmm. Right. A very important consideration. And then last, consider taxes, which will be one of your biggest expenses in retirement. But the good news is you can take action now to reduce your taxes in retirement.
Absolutely. You have, in particular in this market, Aaron, where we've had, recently so much volatility. You see from the chart here, tax free, taxable, tax deferred. This is a perfect time that with bad news sometimes becomes opportunity. That with IRAs, 401ks, we need to look at rothing some of that money while the markets are down. That they've always recovered. We suspect they will. So taxes play such an important role for many of my clients. Taxes are their biggest expense long term. It eats it away a little bit at a time. But with provisional income, the way Social Security is currently taxed, taxes will be one of your biggest costs. You have to make sure you include those and manage those properly.
Right. So for Larry, for those who are creeping up on retirement and want to talk through again these strategies to make sure that they are well prepared for a happy, healthy retirement, making sure their money lasts as long as they do, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, they give our office a call at area code 615-216-1048, or they can go to our website, sfawealth.com, and look at some materials and set an appointment that way as well.
Great. Larry, thank you.
Thank you.